welcome back to the channel. Ryan here, talking all things geek today with What If. We are going to be talking about What If. There are going to be spoilers in this. If you're not aware of what If is, it's basically the MCU. What if something happened that never happened in the MCU? It's multiverse madness at its best. As I just said, there are spoilers ahead, so please go ahead, watch the video, watch the episode, then come back to this video and check out my views. Just my opinion, so do not bite my head off. It's not the be all or end all. Now, first things first, before we go ahead, that there are a lot of reviews coming out now that a lot of people are putting it very low. It is extremely low on the MCU sort of scale in comparison to what we've had recently. That's not to say that it's terrible. It's far from terrible. But this first episode does explore that first Avengers story, but differently. In this instance, what if Peggy Carter took the Soldier Serum and became Captain Britain in this instance? So my thoughts on the episode are that it's a bit weak at times, and I think the struggle here is that it's 30 minutes long. There's another YouTuber that I have watched has said that it could do with another 10-15 minutes just to give it a bit of a breather from the story. It goes plot to plot to plot, like action to action to action, scene to scene to scene, literally like that. It's just constant information that you're taking in and not necessarily keeping in. There are a lot of things in here that are fun and different, and there's some surprises in there that I wasn't expecting. Did I enjoy it? While I was watching it, did I enjoy it? Which I find the most important part of, watching something new. Did I enjoy What If Episode 1? I did. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the story and where it went, but I don't necessarily think that it is perfect. It definitely could have done with some breathing time. Just between scenes, just a little bit of, sort of story, movement. Definitely something that the MCU is known for, where they take their time per story. But yeah, that's my initial thought on the episode, is that it just needed a little bit more for what we got. But moving on to the actual story itself, and of course we start off with a sort of little prologue of what actually happened, of Steve Rogers taking the serum, beating Red Skull, getting sent 70 years into the future and became Captain America. We get that at the start. What we see is different here, and again, it's something that I've noticed while watching it, but there's also something that other people have pointed out, is that, while yes, it is what if Peggy Carter took the serum, it's also what if she didn't go up into the sort of viewing area, if she stayed downstairs. That is sort of where the story goes, and that's the sort of thing that changes everything. That's the butterfly effect, basically, of what in this world is different, So, as I said, the story goes on, and obviously you get Hydra blowing up the place. Steve gets shot in the process and is injured, and you get this dickhead of a colonel guy in the episode that is just like pushing for one of the lads to get in there. He pushes Howard Stark to get in there, and Howard's like, now I'm the button guy, I'm the genius button guy. I'm not a soldier. That sort of thing. And Peggy's just standing there, like she's sitting like next to Steve, and it's an instance of like, I've got to do it. I'm the only one in the room that can do it. So she gets in the machine, and she becomes Captain Britain. Things do play out very differently in this. She doesn't go and get the shield. She doesn't physically choose the shape of the shield in this one. Howard Stark does, which I thought was a nice, interesting detail. Is that how different it is? you know, because I've seen that they were planning to have this sort of look a different shape of the shield. The shape of the shield is the original comic. You know, there was no inkling of that. Howard Stark made the suit for her and the shield with the discretion of, you know, the colonel that's absolutely bitching about the fact that he's got a woman as a soldier and not a man. You know, it was those kind of times. Women weren't soldiers. You know, the men were. But of course, things have changed now. Thank God for that. And moving on, we get a few little things that are like similar to the original film, to the first Avenger, i.e. like Red Skull coming across the Tesseract, which was one of the earliest scenes in the film, I believe. But then we get Captain Carter actually taking the Tesseract back, and you know, she goes on this mission, and it just shows just how different she is to Steve. It's a bit weird for me because like Captain America, when he got the serum, he sort of played through it. You know, he had this strength and he was able to use it a bit more, but he wasn't trained in any way, and that's clearly pointed out in Avengers later on when he's fighting Loki, and like Black Widow points out just how much of a mess he is, that he's all over the place. But it doesn't feel like that with Peggy. Peggy's straight in, and she's sort of got the skills, and she's sort of there with the training and that. Which did throw me off a little bit, because I thought, like, you know, why is she prepared and ready and just straight in? And it's because of the fact that we only get half hour for this episode. That is the reason why she's ready to go and straight in with it. It's not a big issue. It's just a small thing. But anyway, we get back. She's starting to grow this relationship with Steve. Very much like how we've always known the relationship to be with Steve and Peggy. It's very much the same. The dance sort of thing is, like, he's been shot and he's weakened and he's like, well, I was never a dancer anyway. This dance thing comes up probably one too many times, if you ask me. Like, I would have been fine with him saying I'm not a dancer, then later on saying that I owe you a dance. That would have been enough for me, you know. So then we get on to like what is more of what happens in the film. Obviously at this point, Peggy has taken the Tesseract from Hydra in this mission that didn't happen in the first Avenger, and she's got the Tesseract. And she's like, well, I assume you know what to do with this. And it's like, Howard's like, yeah, okay. So he sticks it into a robot that Steve jumps in. You know, it's a bit Iron Man-y. I guess you could say because he's got the source power and there's the tanks within the room, within the, like, that era, that they were able to make this sort of a little bit more like Ironmonger suit than it is Iron Man. But it's Hydra Stomper, and you know, I enjoyed that scene. I enjoy Steve Rogers' part in this episode. It's very much taken away. He's still this down to earth, polite guy that you want next to you when you're in a war. He's still that Steve Rogers, but in this instance, he's in a robot. You know, he's in a robot. That sounds so wrong. But in this case, he's in a suit of armour, similar to Tony Stark. And there's a line in there that I caught on straight away. There's a line in there where it's like that Steve sort of like, you know, I am the suit sort of thing. Without the suit, I'm nothing. And Peggy puts out there, no, it's all about the man behind the suit, more so than the suit. This is where they're about to kiss, and then Howard Stark's like, well, we've got a Jeep, let's go, and sort of thing. But it's like, it's very much reminiscent of like how Steve Rogers thought of Tony Stark, in the sense that without the suit you're nothing. And I thought that was interesting that Steve thought that about himself with this suit of armour. Of course, in this instance, he was wrong, and he was in that instance, he was wrong as well. That Tony Stark is definitely more than just a man in a suit. It's about the man behind the suit and everything like that. It's always been the case with Tony Stark, and that story grew in the Infinity Saga. And it's just really nice to see a callback to that in this, where Steve is questioning himself, even though, of course, you know, it doesn't work that way, you know, and we all know that. So yeah, we get on to Peggy saving Bucky, which in this instance is not taken to be experimented on. He's in the cage with everybody else. Is somebody else being experimented on? Or is that something, you know? Anyway, it's not really important. This is where we actually got the initial Stomper scene, Hydra Stomper. This is where we first see Steve in the suit. It's a brilliant scene. You know, it's sort of like, you know, she knows him. She's friends with him. And then Bucky turns to Dum Dum Dugan and it's like, I think I'm friends with him as well. Yeah. It's a nice fun scene to see. So then, as I say, we move on to this old big ending. But before that, we get to the train scene, which of course was infamous for Bucky dying during this scene, falling to his death. However, in this instance, that doesn't happen. So, Hydra Stomper, or Hydra Smasher, whichever one it is, I think it's Stomper. He goes out, slows down the train. They all rob down like they always did. But this time, you know, Hydra Stomper is opening up the train and there's a bomb. The bomb goes off, everyone's off the train. Steve dies. Or what seems to be like Steve has died in this instance, but of course it's just Red Skull trying to get the Tesseract back. Edward Stark makes the big point that the suit of armour should be absolutely withstandable to anything. It should be indestructible. Something that's proven later on, clearly, and Bucky brings up again. So, Peggy, everybody, decides, right, we're taking the war to Red Skull, we're going to take him out. So they end up there, they have to take Edward with them, and it's like, it's nice to see Edward Stark, while he's the same character, he gets to do a lot more in this film than he did in the original. He was just sort of like the guy in the chair a little bit in the original film. In this instance, he's out there, you know, he's on the fields, not necessarily battling, but he's out there, he's dealing with shit, and he gets the job done to a certain extent. So yeah, we get in there. Peggy and Howard go off up the high ground, and Bucky, Dum Dum Dugan, and a few of the others take the low ground. Of course, when they take the low ground, they find out that the portals they find out that Tony Stark, they find out that Steve Rogers is alive, and the suit of armour really is indestructible. Again, Bucky brings that up, that, you know, God, the Stark really did make an indestructible suit. Which is a nice nod again to Tony, but obviously in this instance he's talking about Howard. So Steve is alive, yay, but the suit of course is powered down because there's no Tesseract thing. So Steve is like, well, we'll power it up with these machines that it's connected to, giving him enough juice to give him a little bit of a boost. Meanwhile, while that's going on, Peggy and Howard find out that Red Skull has opened a portal with the Tesseract, and in doing so, this worm creature comes out, sort of octopusy, octopus-like, you know, tentacles and everything. It's clearly like the Hydra sort of, you know, like the Hydra logo. It's definitely that creature. One that we've actually seen in the Marvel universe to a certain extent before. If you watched Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., when one of the characters ended up on a different planet, getting stuck because of an obelisk, and she ends up on the planet of Hydra, where Hydra originated from, and there's this big broken down statue of the creature. So, in a certain extent, while that's not canon to the MCU anymore, but at the time it was, and that was our first glimpse of. In this instance, we're actually seeing it in action. At least the tentacles, anyway. In the process, Red Skull gets crushed. He's a little bit naive in this, he's a little bit... He's nothing like his character in the first Avengers. The first Avenger, Captain America the First Avenger. It just doesn't feel like the same person. Well, at the same time, his plan is pure evil, pure Nazi style. It's not necessarily the way that Red Skull's story ends in this one. Not necessarily how you'd see him end. It just doesn't feel right. But anyway, moving on. Steve enters the fight. Peggy's like, "Do you miss?" Steve's like, "Do you miss me?" And she's like, "Every second." It was a nice little moment. There's a nice little touching moment while you're fighting a freaking worm from another planet. So Howard Stark is trying to close the portal, and they're struggling to get the creature to go back. So the creature is being pulled back into the portal, but it's able to grab onto sides and stuff like that to stop itself. So there is no way that they can close the portal until the creature is physically back in the portal. The portal has to be sort of like, free in order to close. It's that sort of situation. Peggy decides to push the creature into the portal. At this point, Steve has taken out everybody because the creature started screaming. So Steve took everybody out in his suit, went back in, and then you get this moment where it's like, so Steve has returned back in, but the suit decides to die out because the battery isn't enough. The Tesseract powered the suit, and obviously the battery source in this instant was just an electrical charge that has now run out. So there's Peggy. She's got no other options, which is hard to believe because they didn't try anything else. But in this instance, it's a case of there's no time to think. There is no time to stop and think, okay, how can we do this? Get me a tank, I'll shoot a tank at it. There's nothing like that. You don't have time for that. Sort of thing. And then Peggy's pushing this creature into the portal. She looks back at Steve and she's like, Steve's like, we were going to dance and stuff like that. You owe me a dance. And she's like, okay, Saturday, we'll be there. She pushes the creature in. Portal closes. That was surprising to me. I honestly thought they were going to go away where Captain Britain was actually going to stay in the 40s. That's what it felt like, and that's what I thought the story was going to go. And there was going to be something else that made her end up in the present day. Because I remember her talking to obviously like Benedict Cumberbatch's Doctor Strange at one point in the trailer, which is obviously from this storyline made possible. At this point, you could have done with a little bit more. This is where it could have done with another 2 or 3 minutes, like a breather, to sort of tell us what happened with Steve, this version of Steve, and Bucky. How did that go on? Were they ever able to recreate the Super Soldier Serum? I'm guessing not, because there's a Hulk related episode. There's an episode with a Hulk in it, so therefore they couldn't recreate that Super Soldier Serum from her Brotherhood. But then we get what I was expecting the episode to end there, or give us a little bit of like this past stuff where Steve and Bucky and Howard are all there drinking and saying like, oh, we're gonna miss her. And her legacy will continue on. Stuff like that. But now, instead we've got this scene where it takes us back to the first Avengers film, when they're using the Tesseract and the portal opens. But this time, it's not Loki, but Captain Britain. Peggy Carter Captain Carter. I hope I haven't been saying Captain Britain too much. But Captain Carter comes out to the portal. Some tentacle limbs are out there as well. And she's like, "Where's Steve?" And it's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, the war's over. It's been over for 70 years. Hawkeye then turns to, obviously, Nick Fury and says, like, that's Captain Carter. Which I think is their sort of way of doing like the legacy has continued because they're aware of who she is. But yeah, and then the episode ended. So, overall, the storyline, there's parts of the story where they could have done with a little bit of extra time. They could have put in a few extra minutes just to flesh it out a little bit, and just make it feel more like the Marvel stories that we're used to. But of course, in this instance, we didn't get that, unfortunately. But I do love, I love a good animated sort of, I love the DC animated side of things. While Marvel have done some decent animated films and series, it never quite reaches the height that DC get, especially with the Batman movies. So many Batman movies that there's a lack in Superman movies. I want to see some more Superman animated movies, if I'm being quite honest. But anyway, what they've done here is very impressive, and they've been able to say, well, like, okay, so if this changes, then this has changed, and if that's changed, then this got to change. They've definitely thought down that route, and I actually love that. I love the fact that they've gone into this and been like, right, okay, so that's different, this is different. And they do that all the way through the episode. It is a good episode. It's probably going to be seen as one of the weak ones, though. I mean, like, they wrote this first, and I think they were just trying to get their heads around what it is, the series, what they wanted to do with the series. I've not watched any of the others. I'm not one of the ones that have watched the first 3 episodes. I've not been able to. I've watched 1 episode, and that is this one. And I enjoyed it. I'm definitely going to stick with it. No matter what, I'm also going to be sticking with these videos as much as I can. Work permitting, hopefully very soon. So, that's it for today. And me talking about What If. I hope you have enjoyed it. I've enjoyed doing this video. I've enjoyed watching the video. I enjoyed watching the episode. A little bit weaker than usual. If I were to give it a score out of 10, which I don't normally do on this channel, if I were to give it a score out of 10, I'd give it a strong 7. A strong 7. Not a weak 7, but a strong 7. Not quite reaching that 8. A bit more storyline, lengthier, bit of a, epilogue, maybe even a stronger prologue. And yeah, you would have gotten an 8, 9 or a 10. But in this instance, it's a very strong 7. So, I've been Squivo. This has been Squivo's.
But wait! There's more!
Now, before I go, I've got a little thing to tell you. There is going to be a Comic-Con video in November. You're probably thinking, why am I talking about it now? Because I'm very excited. Tickets have been brought. November 13th. I am at Comic-Con. Now, funny enough, we've actually got guests being revealed at Comic-Con weekend later. With guests like James Masters, Spike, got Drew Siller in there. There's Darla, Harmony, Cordelia, Xander. There's all these characters that are from Buffy universe that are going to be there. There's also Crowley from Supernatural, which, believe me, I want an autograph of. No doubt about it. There's all these stars that are being revealed. And the funny thing is that this was originally going to be on the same weekend as Birmingham Comic-Con. Now, I'm thinking, did they not want to compete? Or is it because the stars were going to go to one or the other? So they split it up so they could go to both. That would be amazing. John Barrowman's there, Billy Piper's there, There's some other stars, you know, some Charm stars in there. There's Doctor Who stars. There's all these stars. Torchwood stars are in there as well, big time. So yeah, Comic Con is coming in November 13th. As I said, there's a long wait for that. So that will be my next vlog episode, or video on the channel. So again, thanks for watching. Please do like, comment and subscribe to the channel. It is much appreciated, and I thank all those 18 subscribers already that we've got. Let's see if we can get it to 20 by Comic Con. I'd have to do that. If we could get another 2 subscribers by Comic Con, I know, and that's not a lot to ask. It's a lot to ask, but it's not a lot to ask. Just 2 more people, and you know, by the time Comic Con comes around, I'll be very happy to get 20 subscribers, 20 people constantly viewing my videos. That'd be nice. But anyway, that's it for today on the What If Talk. Again, we're going to be doing another one of these next week, possibly a different day. You know, because of, as I say, I should be starting work very soon. So, thanks for watching. Again, I've been Scrivo. This has been Scrivo Sphere. What if I wasn't Scrivo? What if this wasn't Scrivo Sphere? Anyway, I'll see you next time, folks. Goodbye.